What's up, everyone? It's Kyle Anthony Trautmann. I am here with Neena Perez on Straight Talk, and we are covering energy literacy and flow for post-traumatic growth.
What up, y'all? This is Neena Perez, and this is Straight Talk, no sugar added. I cannot wait to get into this conversation today because I believe it's going to transform the way you think. So I have Kyle Anthony Trautmann here. Now, he's a neuroscience-based transformational expert, and he's really here because of all of you, right? All of you purpose-driven professionals who are really trying to up your game. So if you're a coach, an entrepreneur, a purpose-driven professional, you want to break free from that burnout crap that everybody's been talking about because it's real, y'all. Okay, this is going to be the episode for you because Kyle's story is, well, it's extraordinary, right? I mean, he has survived 44 overdoses, a near fatal brain injury, and all he did to get that under him was to actually turn that into purpose. Now, for all of you who are all out here just boo-hooing and crying and acting out, this is going to be the episode for you because I believe that when you can go through all of this and still turn that into purpose, that is what we're supposed to be doing on this earth. So I am so grateful that he is taking the time to come on here and talk to us. He's the founder of High Vibe Holomics, and I probably said that wrong. So I'm going to have to ask him if I said that wrong. And Kyle's combining basically cutting edge neuroscience with like ancient healing modalities. And he's creating all of this sustainable transformation because let's be real. A lot of us want to transform and then we kind of keep going back and forth on our thing. So he's going to tell us how to do this without all the damn fluff, right? So let's welcome Kyle to the stage. How are you, Kyle?
that was perfect. Thank you so much for that intro. I was like, wow, I feel so honored.
Right. Well, it's all you, dude. It's all you. It's really good to have you. No, I talk to a lot. I'm really blessed, actually. I built this platform for people like you, people who have actually gone through stuff, have a story, but are also using that to change people's lives, right? That's like, I think that's just my mission. I want to do that. I want to highlight people like you. And so I've had a lot of success here because I've had so many people who have listened to the show, work with people that have been on the show. And that's just a beautiful thing to give back to the world, you know? Totally so agree. I want to give you to the world, Kyle. So the first thing I'm going to do is ask you who you are, because I read a little bit about you in your bio, but I want to know more deeply. Who is Kyle?
Yeah, I simply put, and first and foremost, thank you, because going through your platform and going through some of these episodes, you have some just juggernauts of people, doing amazing work in the world. So, thank you for obviously having this platform, not only just inviting me on, but yeah, simple put, I am a living man just practicing holonomics. You were close on that intro.
Oh, okay.
And it's just, I'm just simply a guy that overcame a ridiculous amount of circumstances and conditions to just put myself at the forefront to help other people. Yeah. And just really having a faith-centered practice and facilitation to give back to the younger generation. And then obviously whoever needs that specific type of help too.
Okay. So you said a lot and I'm going to dig into that, right? Sure. So I want to know, first of all, tell me what holonomics is.
Yes, perfect. That's the biggest question that I think we get as a team. Holonomics in Greek means the whole law. And law is anything that's repeatable in science. So obviously, as you go through repetition or the law of repetition, once you can measure that, that's known as a law, right? So holonomics just means the whole law. And what we mean by that in the form of achievements, results, or healing, which I believe are all the same thing. It's just change work. We want to take care of all aspects of the whole, right? Our entire soul is constantly deriving and striving towards wholeness on a given basis. And that flow of life is just looking for that state of being on a consistent basis. And obviously the conditions, circumstances, trauma, past histories, memories, all those things are just getting in the way of that. So we just take a top-down approach and bottom-up approach for people to understand what their dynamics are, what their systems are, and literally how to promote wholeness from not only just within, but also without too. What are the environmental dynamics that help with that too? So really not just going after mental health, physical health, emotional health. We're going after spiritual health, relationship health, the whole kit and caboodle to make sure that you are one within yourself.
Wow. And that's a lot of work, right? It's what I mean by a lot of work. It's something that you can't, it's, for me, it would be like a life learning type of thing, right? Because we never really arrive. It's the journey. And so I love that you're talking about all of the aspects, including the spirituality part. But I want to know a little bit more about why. Like, why are you even doing this, Kyle? Because you've been through some stuff, right? So I kind of like blanketed
Yeah,
over it a little bit during the bio, but
for
I'd like to
sure.
know a little more about that if you're open to dig a little bit.
Mhm. Oh yeah,
Okay.
I mean, give me a shovel, right?
I love
I
that.
think, yeah. I mean, my way of getting through and having fun with people is humor, because obviously, if
Yeah.
we don't have that, it's a really missing piece to the process. But the biggest starting point was just seeing the lineage and the history of my family's chronic illness. My brother
Mm,
had a stage 1 diabetes, which turned into him having stage 4 liver failure when he was in his 20s. My mom has
young.
multiple health issues. My dad has his own health complications as well. I just saw the litany of things happening. And this was right after my initial bout with drug abuse. And right when I was about 21, 22, I was just like, something's different here. Like, I got to take a different route. And what spoke to me first was regenerative agriculture and like how to promote nutrient density through
Mm,
nutrition. And I was really head over heels about that for about 4 years. But then I realized, once I came into my full-on practice in 2016, bioenergetics really spoke to me. Like, what is the undercurrent of life? And it's just energy as a whole. And now, what is that other than just what energy inputs we have, but also at the same time, what are outputs? So
mhm,
obviously, as within, so without. It's the law of correspondence. The biggest thing that I found is our emotional landscape. That truly is what drives our biology more than anything, more than food, more than anything, right?
mhm,
And when I started seeing that on a consistent basis, I just corroborated that with, my substance abuse. And I was like, okay, well, this is a 1-2 punch. I can help people, can help my family. And then on top of that, I can obviously help myself through that recovery
mhm.
process as well. So that was like the origin story of that. And then it just kind of took off from there. And one of the beautiful things that I was fortunate to find in that process was my own sense of self, right? That derived notion of faith, that real beautiful thing that we call God or superconscious in neuroscience, that really just runs the show, and how to tap into that every single day.
Yeah, well, that's great. I want to touch into that though, because faith
Sure.
is a big component in a lot of people's lives, right?
Hmm.
So when you say that, that's like that can be very general, right? Or it
Hmm.
can be very specific to the person, whoever is listening. So just tell me a little bit about that. When you say that faith is a component of that for you, were
Hmm.
you somebody who grew up in faith? This is
Yeah.
something you found during, the struggles that you were going through. Tell me about that.
Yeah, totally. I mean, oh man, there's so many stories, especially when you talk about 44 overdoses. I mean, like, for me,
Yeah.
just on that side, like, for me, just because it's my experience, 44 overdoses is just like the blanket over everything else. There's
Yeah,
so much there.
let me ask you, if you don't mind, I'm gonna pause you there for a
Sure.
second because I'm just wondering, 44 overdoses is, first of all, a miracle, right?
Sure.
But why were you doing that, right? Because you would figure after like the fourth
Mhm.
or the first, the fourth, the first, whatever
Mhm.
overdose that would have transformed you or scared you or something, right? So
Yeah.
so how did we get to 44? Were you trying to hurt yourself? Like what was happening there?
What a beautiful question, because and I'm thankful for, the inner scaffolding that I've done, because that would be like a very triggering question, maybe a
Yeah.
couple of years ago. I just hated myself,
Mhm, that's
and
real. Yeah.
I was not only trying to escape my own reality, but I was too cowardice to take my own life by my own hand. So I thought
Mhm.
substance could do it for me. Because even after my near death experience, you'd think you would just clock. And, when I was 24 at the time, when I had my first near death experience, you just think you'd wake up from the hospital, get papers on your chest, all these tubes coming out of you, and
Mhm.
get discharged. You think you'd just get it, right? You'd think like any rational human being would get it, but that's not what substance abuse disorder does to the mechanisms of the mind. And this
Right.
was shortly before, obviously, my practice. And the moments when I had to face up with myself, I was like, wow, I don't actually know how to love myself. It's not that I
Mm,
wasn't just taught
that's
that,
deep.
right? I just didn't fundamentally know the mechanisms of how to love myself.
Mhm.
So seeing everything, because you can't blame it on childhood trauma. You can give yourself some context of where stuff comes from, but
Mhm.
compounding things and experiences over time was just like, wow, I really genuinely am cool with not being here. But like I said, I was too cowardice to take it by my own hands. Like I said, I always told myself I'll never take my own life. But if a substance took me out, I'm okay with that. That's where I was at that time.
Yeah. And you were young, right? But it's interesting, isn't it? Because you said that you were 21 when you started to ask yourself, this can't be it. Like this ain't it. Right.
Yep.
But yet you still went down the destructive path, even though,
Totally.
right?
Right.
This is so
Isn't
good
it?
because I
Isn't it
know
wild? It's
it's
wild.
wild, but it's
It is
true.
wild.
This is real stuff you're talking about, right?
100%.
It's so interesting because I was talking to myself, I think it was just this morning or yesterday or something, where I was saying, okay, I know that I want to lose this weight. I'm just going to be personal, right? So I want to lose this weight and stuff, but yet I have destructive behaviors that I know I don't want. Right. So there's a scripture in the Bible where Paul talks about, I keep doing the things I don't want to do and don't do the things that I should. Right. And that's like, it's almost reminding me of what you're talking about, because you were 21 when you had this moment of epiphany, this moment of this ain't it. But yet the destruction didn't stop. And I want people to understand that can be a very normal process to your breakthrough. Right? Because a lot of people just beat themselves up and beat themselves up and beat themselves up, and then they keep going around this circle. And so that you said that was very short before you started your practice. Were you feeling a bit like an imposter starting your practice?
Yes. So this is a fun thing, and I want to kind of revert back to what you were saying, because like I had what I call the 5-finger stranglehold, right? I had the addiction to food, had the addiction to women, had the addiction to cigarettes, drugs, and alcohol, and I had to take care of them kind of in that order. And it was like, literally, if you want to talk about the definition of an addict, like you'd literally put me next to that definition in the dictionary. So when it came down to, because I started my nutrition consulting business when I was 23. So that was first layover for about 18 months to 2 years. Of course, I felt like an absolute imposter. I was in Los Angeles. I was teaching nutrition. I would be like, hey, let's go get a green juice or something like that. And blah, 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 blah. And then I'd do cocaine at night.
Right.
It was just a wild time, not only just of like identity crisis, without actually like admiring the fact that, wow, I'm going through something, because you don't have the development at that time.
Right.
But that was my life. So absolutely, not only that was I feeling like an imposter, I was an imposter. I can say that very adamantly now, 12 years later.
Right.
I was like, yeah, I was the king of faking it. And I was really good at it. And I mean, obviously, living in Los Angeles, there's a lot of actors out there, so I blended in very well.
Well, also, I mean, we're kind of taught that though, Kyle, right? Because we're kind of taught, fake it till you make it, fake it till you make it. But the thing is while you're faking it, you are a fake, like you really are, like you're not there yet, And so I totally can relate to that. I get that, right? In the beginning, I was the same way when I started my practice. Oh, I got this. I didn't got nothing, But I thought exactly, it's so liberating when you get to that emotional intelligence in your life and you realize that you're not the only one, dude. Like everybody's going through some level of that. And when you become really real with yourself, you can start transformation. And so that's why I'm wondering, like when you started your practice, where you're like, what the F am I doing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was just the stories, man. I mean, there's so many stories. I mean, so many stories that I probably forgot too. But you just get to a point where your heart's in the right place, because you genuinely have this servant's desire to want to give back to the world and help people. But your head is just messed up.
Yeah.
Your head is just messed up. And then when those are not, obviously, and this is the our brain and heart coherence, if that's not intact, if that's not in what they call alignment, if that's not connected to that purpose and that mission, then it is a falsified mission. It's a falsified purpose. So therefore you have to go within even deeper. And what's hard about anybody that's had addiction issues, because we all have it to a certain degree to our emotional standpoint, that's the root cause, or actually beyond the root cause is the emotional underpinning specifically of our lives. But what really, really helped me teach more so from that notion is having a deeper heart, deeper compassion, because people who do have substance abuse disorder or do have substance abuse addictions, they have to peel away from the chemical addiction, then they have to do the inner work. It's just a double whammy, which is just more energy. It's more exhausting. So this is the reason why I put my flag down on this type of work, because if I can go through that and do the inner work, the secondary stuff, I'm like, I can be a beacon for other people to just literally take that step. Cause it is terrifying once you do it, but once you're in it, it's like, God's got you.
Yeah, exactly. So let's touch on that. God's got you.
Yeah.
Let's touch on that faith piece, right? Because I'm a person, I'm a Christian. I believe in God. It's a big part of my life. So when I hear people mention that, it's like a little bit ding. Okay, what does that mean to them? Right?
For sure.
So I want to know that. What does that mean to you? What does faith mean to you? What does God mean to you? What does that mean?
Salvation. Yeah. I mean, truly, we do our best to be non-dogmatic, specifically from aspects when we teach neuroscience, because we want to have a little bit more of those connective pieces. So you can say infinite intelligence. Ultimately, I just call it the nervous system. Like, that is God activating through us. But for me, it's not just salvation. It's a guiding post. Like, for me, God is guidance on deliverance. That's God. So for me, when I've gotten that guidance and I'm delivered, right, and I'm saved through that process, now I can actually hear what I'm supposed to do rather than me doing everything, being like, oh, this is my way, these are my preferences. I was like, if I'm made in that image, in his image, I need to be listening to that call, right? I need to be doing, that's the obedience aspect too. So for me, when that started to shift, there's an effervescence of joy that just comes over your life, where you're not worried really about anything. You get to start to take day by day, instead of the angst of the future and then the traumas of the past. Like, you're being like, wow, I'm anchored in being that beacon. So that's what it means for me, is guidance on deliverance, for sure.
That's amazing. And it's like when you start to get to that point where you're walking in that calling, right, in that mission, and know, and you feel, and it's in you, and it's from God, you kind of turn around and go, oh, that's why.
Right?
That's why. Yes, exactly. Like, all the trauma in my life, when people say, how did you survive it? Oh, God, completely. And then now I realize how many people I've helped and continue to help because of it. And I'm like, oh, that's why. God, I didn't really like all those lessons, but thank you for that.
Right. Well, it's so beautiful, because you realize when you're looking at it, it's like, you may have not liked it, but it's not about you. Right? It's like, you had to go through it, so you can literally, and this is one of my favorite quotes by Dr. Eric Thomas. He's like, somebody cannot be at their best until you go through your worst. And I was like, whoa, because if I went through my worst and then I can integrate that into a mission statement, somebody else can see what's possible.
Yeah, because I truly believe, Kyle, that our lives are not just for us. It's basically what you're saying. Our life is not to go through all of this crap in this world, die, and then no, it's not. We're supposed to help the next person along the way.
Amen.
And it doesn't mean me being a multi-billionaire, having millions and millions of followers. It could just be your family circle. It could be somebody who you met on the street. It doesn't matter. I think that we're just supposed to use our lives to impact the lives of others. I truly believe that, right?
Absolutely agree.
And so I love what you're doing. And so I want to know how you got into the practices that you're doing, because now you're, running your high vibe business, right? So talk to me about that. What does that look like? What is it that you're doing to help others?
Yeah, well, first the origins of the high vibe, because a lot of people are like, the high vibe, and it's like, actually it's a joke. It's our like mockery of like the new age stuff. Like, it's always good vibes.
I love that.
Like, it's a joke. So
I'm so glad you told me that. I love that even more.
We if you work with us, especially just our team, we are a bunch of comedians. Like, I am a jester archetype.
Man, me too.
It's
sometimes
beautiful.
sometimes my comedy comes at the wrong time. I don't know if you're the same way, but it's dark. Something is super dark, and I'm like, oh God, Neena, it's supposed to be dark. It's
so good. It's so good. But like, that's a little bit of the origin aspect. But reverting back to 2016, bioenergetics was just like the language that spoke to me most. I started to understand there's two aspects to it. It's like, what is coming in via inputs for ATP production? Like, that's obviously driving the Krebs cycle, which is being like, well, here's your human organism that has energy. It can now move. It's got momentum. But the main driver was the emotions. And then I started with the emotion code and the body code. And I started getting all these certifications, taking these seminars. And I was like, I got to understand like the fascial system, how everything is just getting tight inside the body because of the emotions. And then I came across holonomic brain theory and my whole brain went, I was like, okay, well, we understand traditional learning since the 50s. Hebbian learning says the more you do of something, the more it becomes, right? The neurons that fire together wire together. Really, really simple. So repetition, as you do things, you know, the more you practice things, the more you become it, right? Very simple. But then holonomic brain theory on top of that said all the depicted influences in our life from a holographic standpoint now start to shape our emotional landscape. So if you have, say, this or my phone or anything that's a 3D object, they're considered holograms. So now if we start to see things from a holographic standpoint, every single holographic depiction that promotes our senses that start to garnish, right, an emotion, this is where trauma starts to really become into the play. But now once you start to see that and you erase those emotional associations to those depictions, and then you do that repeatedly, you're having a clear system. And then obviously if you sustain yourself with just, you know, obviously a high vibrational diet, right? Or a high ATP diet, as like we like to say, just having more energy through the system, then you have no structural, you know, part of your being that has an environment for dis-ease. So if you're clearing the associated emotions through all the events and experiences, and in our curriculum, we just call it the hit list. What are these other things, these people, places, events, and experiences that you just have to clear through your mainframe? And then you just support yourself. Drink clean water, be around amazing, loving, supporting people, right? Get some body work done, a massage every once in a while, get some proper supplementation to, you know, some testing that you may have to do, very simple. You can do this in a very simple fashion. And that's our motto here, is do simple best, right? If we can just really simplify the process of clearing yourself, right? Allowing yourself just flow to just move through you. It's really, it becomes more of a fun experience being a human.
Yeah, that sounds really amazing, actually. And as you're talking, I'm thinking about how many things must clog us up. And I'm just wondering if you find a common denominator in a lot of people. Like, what is the common denominator you find that is a clog, if you will? Like when I think about what you're saying, I'm thinking about how hard it is for people to not be confused, because we have so much stuff coming at us, Kyle, like so much scrolling and social media and fake news and the whole thing, right? So what do you find is like the common thing that you're finding people are getting stuck in or clogged in?
Yeah, I mean, there's three that I can think of right off the top of the bat. One is a fragmented attention span. And just obviously because of the access of what we have.
Oh Lord, he's reading my book now, y'all.
And then the main one and two is mom and dad, where the programming came from mom and dad, because essentially you're 50% from a genomic standpoint, mom and dad. And don't quote me out there, all health professionals, it's not perfect 50-50 on the exact, but let's be honest, you come from mom and dad. So one of the 7 types of trauma that we teach within our curriculum is adverse childhood relationship experiences. They're called ACRs. So your mom and dad are the closest thing to you, right? And everything that you are focusing on through development is coming from mom and dad. Now imagine if one of the other is absent. Right now you're picking up relationship experiences and behaviors from the environment around you and whoever's taking care of you. Now coming up in today's day and age with just so much access to everything, obviously at, you know, snap of a finger, essentially, you could literally, you know, order anything from across the world at any time. This is where the confines of the mind wasn't adapted to be able to take in that much information. So my approach when I kind of diagnose, or I wouldn't say diagnose, our diagnostics with working with people is just making sure where is the origins, where you're coming from, so we can understand your behaviors, right? Because that's going to steer you away from essentially how your behaviors are now. Because if you haven't addressed those, I guarantee it, they're happening right now in adolescence, preteen, teenagers, and young adulthood, and just adulthood too, because I've worked with 40-plus-year-old people who are literally, emotionally developed as like 13, 14-year-olds because they just haven't stretched that. And if you cannot handle the emotional weight because your nervous system is fragmented, you're immediately going to go to the most simple distraction. And most people are the real addiction is their cell phone.
Yeah.
Before they get to any other substance. And teaching people the anatomy of how to reset those portions in different regions of the brain to actually be at peace, be at ease, is the main focus behind doing the initial quote unquote inner child work, inner work, or trauma work. It's all they're all kind of very similar. They just have different flavors to it depending on who's teaching it. But that 1-2 punch, mom and dad, and then obviously their fragmented attention. This is the reason why in our curriculum, especially with our Monday calls, we do with one of our awesome facilitators, focus training. Like you have to be able to focus on that one thing that you're looking for, because our brains fundamentally cannot multitask.
Yeah.
I know women out there are going to hate me for this because like, yeah, multitask. Yeah. I was like, actually, there's less than 4% of the world's population that can fundamentally multitask.
Yeah,
Our
women.
brains are
No,
not.
I'm only kidding.
See, you have that humor. That was perfectly placed. So, and you're probably right. Let's be honest. Yeah. But that's the main thing, is being able to teach the directive aspect. Our focus is number one, and then the origin of mom and dad, where we come from, is 2 and 3, for sure.
That makes a lot of sense, though. It really makes a lot of sense because many people right now are going through what we're talking about, right? Which is that identity confusion, and they really are having a hard time. At least the people that I speak to too are having a hard time, like reconnecting to what authentic self is, right? So I want you to tell me, because so many people, especially out here in YouTube world and everything else, talks about what authentic self is, or higher self, or all these self things. So
yeah,
what's your definition? Like, how do you see that when you're talking about that authentic self? What do you mean by that?
I mean, what a great question. Authentic self. I think people do a really good job putting titles on things and, making things more complicated than they actually need to. The notion of the authentic self doesn't actually exist. You're either authentic or you're not. Right.
There you go.
And that is just the self aspect. So we know from the spectrum studies that authenticity is the highest vibration through a walking vibration. So through a movement aspect, obviously wholeness is the highest oscillation and vibration that we know on record, period. So it's not really about the most authentic self. It's not about me cutting down anybody. It's just like, you're either authentic or you're not, right? The self is pretty self intact, right? That's why it's called the self. Right. And your duty essentially, and I believe your responsibility just on an emotional level, is just clear all the things that don't make you feel like you're authentic. I think there's also a bag of skills that need to be developed for you to understand what authenticity is. And just because you're out here just kind of winging it and kind of airing it out doesn't make you authentic, right? It's really about refining what wholeness in consistency looks like, right? Because you can feel whole in any given moment. I've worked with many people who have gone on plant medicine, journeys, and they're like, oh yeah, I found, the highest version of myself. And I'm like, great. Now, can you do that consistently? Can you do that while you're doing the dishes? Can you do that while you're doing your laundry? So for me, it's just self, right? Are you being authentic in not only just your expression, but also just in private? Because whatever is happening when people aren't seeing you, that's really what authenticity is when you can't show yourself, to the world. It's like, what is happening within that framework is really what the definition of the authentic self is. But yeah, it's really just the self and just what's fragmented from the whole.
I really love that you brought this up too, and that you pointed that out, because, my son, what was he doing? Shrooms or something. He was doing something. And he's like, oh, Mom, I just feel like everything is just more clear. Like I can say, I could feel like. I said, okay, but what happens when you're not on that though?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, how do you know yourself when you're not there? And of course, I don't know what I'm talking about because I'm just mom, right? But the thing is, but I love that you said that, because you're right. Like, how do you then maintain that or keep that while you're doing the dishes or while you're just living? Like, you're literally just living. instead of having to have a substance to constantly take you there, right?
Yeah.
And that's so interesting. Now, do you ever, because you are recovering, right? Or you've recovered and you're not
Fully
doing,
recovered.
fully recovered. You're not doing that anymore. Do you ever feel like guiding people? Do you ever guide people to do that? To like take, what was it? What's that one that everybody goes to, like the South America for?
Ayahuasca.
Ayahuasca. Yeah. Yeah. Do people
Ayahuasca.
do that? Ayahuasca, Rwanda, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's for me, I don't suggest. We have certain protocols, within our framework. I know for a fact, and this is all, within God's will, that I will most likely, in my 40s and later on in my career, work with people who have substance abuse. Right now, that's not in my cards currently. I don't suggest going to a plant medicine ritual just because I've seen I wouldn't say the detriments, because I'm not trying to poo-poo on it. I've just seen the wasted resources that people can do if they just do a simple, like, whole foods, have a proper what we call the Power 5 protocol, which is really just getting into the ingrainment specifically of the brain, and then also just small little bits and pieces of detox that can help accelerate the impurities coming out of your system. Because essentially, with most plant medicines, you are ingesting a poison to purge.
Right.
It's very interesting on how we go about that as the human species, and also at the same time, a lot of like falsified, be aware of false prophets kind of aspects are popping up all over the United States.
Everywhere.
And it just seems like it's readily available for something that is meant to be sacred.
That's so good.
Yeah, so I suggest for people to work in a capacity that's more protocol. It's a little bit more regimented, but it's also not militant, so you feel rigid, because the brain likes to pop out of rigidity very, very easily. But obviously for deeper ingrained traumas, post 66 days or 6 months, because it takes on average about 6 months for the neurochemistry to recalibrate the hedonic adaptation within your being. And just to help you out with that, hedonic adaptation is just, what are your habits? The neurochemistry behind your habits. If it gets any more extent based off of that, I would possibly suggest, not as a last resort or a Hail Mary, because life is a continuous process. It's not like you're just gonna do a plant medicine ceremony and then life isn't gonna happen. So that's the reason why I don't suggest it, is because I just know so many people have gone through the ceremonies and then they come back and then there's a domestic violence dispute. There's something that happens, and then it's like it washes away the experience. So integration for us is important. That's why when we do conscious integration and teach those tools, it's really about how well can you sit with yourself and have a burning desire for your purpose, but then also be so at peace with just what is. That's like the perfect harmony point.
That sounds amazing, right? Because most of us are not at that place.
Right.
And I love that you said, it's about 6 months of work. And, the reason I like that is because also our brains doesn't like something that's so far away that we can't get there, right? Like we need to know there's some sort of reward or endpoint or something, right? That we have to look forward to, because like, I'm just going to lose weight and, change my habits. But if we don't have some sort of like in 6 months or in a month or in a year, something happens where you start to lose that momentum, right? It's like everybody who does their New Year resolution, and by February, they're done with it, right?
Yeah.
So I like that you said that, because it is a lifelong process and it's something that you do have to do, I feel, in chunks, right? 6 months. Did you feel that way, or?
Yes. Yeah. The reason why I, as just a neuroscientist, I like to add just like the terms to like what people are talking about. What you're saying is called segmentation. Okay. So when you have segmentation and you chunk things, we call them chunked goals within our protocol, you actually maximize your effort. And what I help people within our framework is really adopting the mindset that you got to fall in love with the process, because the process is the squeeze. Once you squeeze, then you get the juice, right? The end product is, okay, great, you have juice, but then that is going to be consumed. So falling in love with just being in the process while you're segmenting, while you're chunking, because then you can actually understand what it means to hit these little benchmarks, and that just builds confidence.
Yeah.
And you need courage to live this life, and literally the precursor to courage, in my humble opinion, is confidence.
I freaking love that. All right. So I know I gotta let you go soon, but I'm like in love with everything you're saying. So
Yeah, no
I
worries.
know that I was reading your bio and everything, and you have like a 94% close rate and the ability to generate a lot of money. I think I read it was like $46,000 something in a single
Yeah,
podcast appearance,
yeah,
which is crazy, right? So
yeah.
what do you think resonated with people so deeply in your message?
I think people just like how I talk. No, I'm just
Yeah, I mean that has
kidding.
to be
Yeah,
true
I'm just
because I'm in
kidding.
love with it. So yeah, it has to be true.
Honestly, it's just we really I think what resonated with people, one, we're just placed with amazing audiences that were really ready to take that jump. But then also at the same time, it's just really having a full system of support. Like our academy is there for accountability, so you don't have to show up with any shame. Honestly, shame to me is one of the most easiest things to get over, which is so hard for other people because they're saturated in it. But having structure, but then also having accountability, also having a framework of education, but then also having one-to-one, we literally just mastered what it actually means to take care of people. Like that's our superpower, is taking care of people. And I believe that's why people felt that. I work with entrepreneurs that are obviously trying to scale their business to higher income echelons. And
Right.
obviously the identity and the beliefs behind that is begetting the behavior that's getting in the way of their business. But for people who are coming in any capacity, in any light of the world, they literally have, oh wow, we have a place for somebody to have their hand held for a little bit. They have accountability structures where they get to work with students that
That's
have been
powerful.
with us for 2+ years. And then on top of it, you have multitude of flavors of facilitators, so you're getting novelty. You're not just being like, hey, it's Kyle, right? We're working obviously with the other people within the facilitation too. And I think that's what people saw. They were like, wow, I have so much support. I have so much access. I have so much education, and I have so much desire that I can't fail unless I just don't show up. And guess what? If you're working with me, I will make you show up because it's just your life is just waiting on the other side. It's like
Yeah.
I've known for so long within my life what it means to just be absolutely miserable. Literally, my substance abuse issues lasted for over a decade, right? And it's just like for somebody to just take that step, it's honestly the most illusionary scary thing, because we're so scared about something that we don't know. But in life, the law of detachment says life is uncertainty. So you just might as well just jump. And the cool part about those numbers, right? Because everybody could be like, wow, 94%, 46,000, like it's crazy. But it's we are that net, right? It's almost like God pushing you, but also God is that hand that holds you when you fall, right? And that's just grace. So I think we did a great job within our facilitation. Our team is immaculate, in my humble opinion, some of the most loving individuals. We just mastered the art of taking, caring, and loving people. And we modeled that after Christ. How would Christ do this?
Oh
How
my
would you
God.
follow Jesus
I'm
through
just
that
in love
process?
with you, bro.
Yeah.
Just in
I
love
was like,
with
that's the greatest teacher. That's the greatest
just
model of
I'm just so in
amen.
love right now. It's incredible. Okay. So you went over something really quickly that just kind of got me because you said, shame. And I'm thinking, yeah, shame is what everybody carries. And you said shame is the easiest thing to get over. And I'm like, what? I was gonna stop you, but you were on a roll, so I let you go. What the
Sure.
heck did you just say, bro?
Yeah, this is where I think the contrarian sense of thinking, where a lot of people do challenge me, and I do appreciate to be challenged, because what you have to learn, obviously in sales, right? Also as a drug addict, you have to learn to get rejected, right?
Right.
And whenever you learn that process of feeling rejected, God's on the other side. That's just a program. So I was like, okay, well, if this didn't work out, God's got something even better for me, right? And Jeremiah 29:11, I'm like, you just know how
Scripture.
you can work this. So for
Yeah.
me, it just realized, okay, if I can transmute shame and guilt, which are the two lowest frameworks of energy behind lust. Lust is also the lowest vibration state that we know of on record, just from an emotional standpoint and state of being. But shame and guilt are right there next to it. So if you can transmute that, because you can preempt where your mind is going to be with who you're working with, or where you're going, or what your mission is, because you are seeking God first, or the kingdom first, however you slice it, that you don't have to worry about anything. So it just easily becomes the main ingredients for a better life, right? So yes, and it's
so
teaching
good.
people how to just sit through that. If you can give yourself 20 seconds of courage, like you can transmute any lower density emotion.
Yeah. Whoo! Go ahead. Where's my mic? I got to drop a mic around here. I got to go look for my mic because that is just freaking awesome, man. All right. So for those listeners, because I know there's a lot of them, and I know a lot of people that I've spoken to just feel completely rock bottom, burnt out, can't do it no more, like that kind of stuff, right? So I want them to know, well, first, I want you to tell them just one thing they can maybe do today that can start helping them shift that. Because I think one of the things I definitely want to plug and tell my team to make sure they put everywhere is how to work with you, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So tell me first, like, give them one thing they can take away right now where they can just start. We'll talk about how to work with you.
First off, close your eyes, hand over your heart. 80% of your sensory allocation dedicated to your brain is in your hands. A lot of people don't know that. So hands over the heart, you have 1,000 times more of electrical frequency emittance from your heart than your brain. So close your eyes, hand over your heart, and the first thing that pops to your mind, what you're grateful for. Yes. And just watch everything just slowly reduce, and then go to a second and go to a third, and just fill yourself up with gratitude, because that is the state of how you receive the world. Yeah. So if you start giving yourself gratitude, as within, so without, the world will start to shift. So very, very simple. It's one of our level 1 clearings. So, and don't be afraid to do that. I do this stuff in public, and I don't give a flying fuck on what people are looking at me, because if I take care of myself, everything else is around me is peaceful. Yes. Right. And you're going to be casted judgment all the time.
It don't matter. Doesn't matter what you do. I'm telling you, you could be feeding starving children and somebody will say, but why did you give them that?
Seriously,
you know,
seriously. So that is number one. And then don't feel afraid to pick up a phone and call someone. Right. If I know it's crazy statistics, I can't remember what it was as of recent in comparison to 10 to 15 to 20 years ago, but how many people can have one person that's reliable to pick up on, right? To just call or just be like, hey, I'm going through something. And that's what I really love about what we've done within, High Vibe Holomics, is we've created that system where you can go at any time. Yeah. Like you can, and just in case something's going on. So yeah, those are the two things that I would probably tell people. Don't be afraid to just reach out and be like, hey, I'm going through something. Do you have space to just kind of work this through with me?
Yeah. So. And I think it says a lot about, just not living in that place of fear, but of a sound mind, right?
Totally.
Because it is in scripture, but everything is in scripture. That's the thing. Like if you really start to read it and apply it to your life, you'll realize how much better and fulfilling and beautiful your life really, really is,
Yeah.
This was the most phenomenal conversation I've had in a while. So thank you so much for being here. This was a true pleasure. And I want to know how people can contact you and work with you guys. Yeah. And that's important. So give us that.
Absolutely. So what's beautiful, I obviously was on a little bit of a sabbatical from working on a consistent basis because I was recovering from a brain injury. But now I'm kind of back in the saddle, fully cleared, allowed to, run free as I usually. But you can reach me at Kyle Anthony Trautmann on Facebook. That's my go-to. You're not going to see like a ton of content on social media currently, but that's the easiest way to access me. I'm super, super active in the DMs. I am on Instagram at Kyle A. Trautmann. If you want to see a little bit more of High Vibe Holomics, that's just at High Vibe Holomics via Instagram. But yeah, just reach out. That's a simple way. To go to the horse's mouth is the easiest, instead of getting, blindsided by opt-in sales pages and all this other stuff. Like if you really want to connect with me, I'm really accessible. So just reach out on Facebook, Kyle Anthony Trautmann. It's the most easy.
Thank you so much for being here, and
you're welcome
for blessing me with this knowledge that you have. Because
thank you.
Yeah, there's a lot of knowledge going on in that brain, man. I like brain injury, but yeah,
what a comeback.
What a comeback, bro. Cause you're super smart. Like I love what came out of your heart, your mind, your expression today. And I cannot be more grateful for you being on Straight Talk. Thank you for being here and putting up with all the technical and the Wi-Fi issues. Yeah, I appreciate you.
It's all good. Thank you so much. Appreciate
Guys,
it.
thank you for hanging out with me and Kyle. I'm going to make sure to link all of his information below because y'all need to just find out, okay? Y'all need to find out. So make sure you contact him, work with his team, and start to really discover what it is that you want, not what, Instagram told you or TikTok told you or your first grade teacher told you, but what is it that you're actually designed to do here on earth? Because you are here for a purpose and a cause and a reason. I really believe that. So thank you guys for hanging out with us. I love you guys so much. This is Neena Perez, straight talk, no sugar added. Until next time.